Welcome back, guys. Thank you for tuning into another video. Today we're coming out here live from my hometown out here in Maricopa, Arizona. Today we're gonna just be doing a little ride around town, talking about like what it is of this bike and shit, because I finally feel really comfortable on this bike compared to how I did when I first got it. Get this bad boy going. So I kind of talked about it in the last video, if anybody watched that, but my first bike was a 2007 Honda Shadow VLX 600, and that bike was great. It taught me everything I needed to know as a new rider. The first like 6 months I had, I was still really getting used to things. It felt really uncomfortable. I didn't really want to like filter through traffic at all with it. Until I got like super comfortable on it. Eventually I felt really comfortable on it, and so I started doing a little bit more like risky things like filtering through traffic, because here in Arizona it's illegal to filter traffic. The law goes if it's 45 miles an hour or under, you're able to filter through like slow or stop traffic basically. So when you're coming up to a stoplight and there's like 10 different cars in front of you, you're allowed to just go through that as long as the speed limit is like 45 or lower, which throughout town here it's 45 or lower pretty much anywhere. I mean, it's even 45 here. I didn't realize that. I thought it was a little bit higher. I got super comfortable on it to the point where like I talked about in the previous video, I would have been comfortable going and taking the actual like skills test for the license, and not just for the permit, which was originally what I went up there to do at one point, was to take the actual like road test. And that was when I found out I had to take the written test. But anyways, back then I was super comfortable on that bike. And when I first got this bike, I just got it back in November. It was early November. So it's now been 2 months. And at first, this bike, if you couldn't tell just by looking at it, it's a Harley Sportster 1200, the Harley girl bike. But this bike was a lot different from the Shadow. This thing it's raised a lot higher than the Shadow was. The Honda was bone stock on that thing, whereas this has like a few different parts that are like aftermarket. It's got a lot of aftermarket parts actually. Like I put these crash bars on myself. The guy before me had highway pegs put on. This is the custom model. So the shifter, the controls are actually supposed to be forward controls, and he moved them to mid controls, and then there's these big footrests on there instead of like the normal like pegs that are supposed to come with it. It's also got a Mustang seat. Obviously you can tell these are aftermarket bars too, which are really nice. And yeah, a lot of really nice stuff done to it, whereas the Honda, just bone stock. And that thing was also carbureted and did not have a lot of power. So I didn't really feel comfortable as much on a road like this. Terrible spot to be running. I respect the grind though, man. Anyways, so when I first bought this bike, like I said in the previous video, I'm down here in Maricopa. I had to go up to like North Phoenix, off of like the right off of the 101, I think. And but I got the bike up there, and it's kind of common practice when you go buy a bike to like have like a truck. You pick up the bike, you take the bike home. It's definitely obviously going to be more common in like fixer-upper like project bikes as compared to like just a normal, oh, this thing's already like ready to ride, runs and drives. And with this bike, it was like ready to runs and drives, looks good. It's been running amazingly since I got it. So like I was saying, so yeah, that bike was carbureted, chain drive, whereas this is fuel injected belt drive, so it's a pretty different experience, you know, especially with all the power. Like, one of the biggest things I noticed coming from the Shadow to this was just how responsive the throttle felt. Like, this thing, you know, it's responsive in terms of, like, it has a lot of power, but there's, like, on your throttle, there's like a little bit of wiggle room. Like right here, this isn't giving it any throttle. It's like a dead zone on there. And I honestly don't even know if that's just, if it's supposed to do that, if this thing like wasn't put on there properly, because I believe these are aftermarket grips. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, they feel great, and it, you know, the throttle works just fine. It just has that little like free play area, kind of like you have with your clutch. And with the other bike, it was in instant response. You know, you touch that throttle. I've been told by other people that has to do with it being carbureted. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, the throttle was a little bit more responsive on the Shadow, even though I didn't have as much power on there, which was, you know, one of the main reasons I ended up getting this bike. It's really a whole different experience on this. So when I went and I got the bike, I told the guy straight up I was driving home, and you know, at the time I didn't actually have like my permit or my license, so he, being the smart guy that he is, he wasn't allowing me to test drive it, which I don't blame him. He's like, look dude, you know, give me the cash, you know, if it's yours, right? Once it's in my name, it's my problem. So that's what we did. I gave him the money, had the title transferred into my name, and then I rode it all the way home. And let me tell you, that was pretty nerve-wracking experience on this thing. You know, like when I first left his neighborhood, I dumped the clutch twice before I even let off, because with the and I've actually adjusted the clutch. His clutch, the way that he had it, it was a little bit off. So on my Honda, and the way that most motorcycles are, you have a pretty good amount of free play between like having the clutch pulled all the way in and where your friction zone is, of where like the clutch is actually engaged. And the way that he had it set up, his clutch cable was like tightened, like almost all the way tightened in. So the clutch pedal, the clutch lever, sorry, was very heavy, and there wasn't really any like free play room. So if you let off the clutch even just a little bit, it would just immediately go. So because of that, I ended up dumping the clutch twice before even leaving the neighborhood, because I'm like, oh my god, like wow, like that clutch engages very quickly, or the clutch disengages very quickly. And after leaving the neighborhood, I didn't end up dumping the clutch at all the entire time home. But you know, it was a whole different experience. You know, this thing, it's a five-speed transmission. The other Honda was a 4-speed transmission. And you know, obviously like the gears were a lot shorter on that thing too. So it was all around, it was a really big change. And you know, I ended up driving that thing. It was like an hour, close to an hour and a half to get home. And you know, normally like that regular drive probably would have been like an hour, but there was pretty heavy traffic. There was an accident right off of the 10 close to my exit, and so because of that, the traffic was backed up for like 3 miles. I split all of the traffic. I split like 4 miles worth of traffic on the I-10, and then getting onto the 347, I finally was ready to go. I was going super smoothly. And then about halfway down the 347, which is the main highway to get into my town, it was like the same story again. You know, it was backed up traffic. I'm pretty sure there was a crash. There's pretty bad traffic on that road around the time, because I was coming back around like 4 or 5 p.m. Or actually, no, it was more like 5, 6 p.m. And it's around that time, you know, it's rush hour. There's usually pretty bad traffic anyways. But because of that, in the crash, you know, it was backed up for another like 5 miles. So I did the exact same thing I did on the 10. I split like an entire 5 miles of traffic, which is, you know, you know, at the time, let's just say I didn't know if it was legal or illegal, but essentially having to split that much traffic on such a new ride to me was very, very nerve-wracking. But honestly, like at the time in my head, it was way more worth it to just risk it and split all the traffic than to have to deal with killing the bike over and over again, trying to get it out of trying to get like from first to just being like on the road going, because it was just it was such a different experience than what I was used to. But nowadays, I'm finally pretty used to the way that this thing rides. You know, I feel very comfortable on this bike. I don't know if I 100% feel as comfortable. Look at that nice Mustang. Wow. I don't know if I feel as comfortable on this bike yet as I did like peak with the Honda, because you know, this thing is heavier. Like it's still a little bit you know, I'm still getting used to the weight, I'm still getting used to the power of it. You know, I'm definitely not like 100% there yet, but I after 2 months now, I feel very confident on this bike. You know, enough where I probably am comfortable enough going and taking the road test when I got a little bit more time, because I got to drive out like a good like 35-40 minutes out to Casa Grande to take the test, on top of having to plan it. I can't just up and go. These trucks, dude. But yeah, so I do feel really confident on this thing now, but man, that was really nerve-wracking getting the bike down here, man. I was so excited when I, you know, finally pulled up in the driveway. I got off, took some pictures. A nice bike. You guys didn't even see me, but you know, it felt nice to get a new ride. You know, a really good one too. You know, I really do plan on keeping this thing for as long as possible. Whereas with the Honda, you know, it's like a side piece, man. Like I always knew I was gonna end up getting rid of it at some point, because I can't afford to have two bikes. Like, you know, I was really only able to, I mean, like, although I could have just bought this one straight up if I wanted to, but you know, I didn't want to really dip into my savings too much. So in my mind, I needed to sell the Honda to be able to afford to buy this thing. So yeah, let's get some gas. Damn, 2 gallons. This nice little parking lot we got here. But yeah, so I felt very nice to finally get home with a nice new bike. I always feel like I'm forgetting something at the gas station, because I always put my gas cap on top of the thing. On the Honda, I had a really nice spot with the bars that I could just, but on this thing, I don't really have anywhere I can like comfortably put the gas cap, so I always end up just putting it on top of the little gas machine. But I still haven't forgotten it yet, but I just feel like there's gonna be one day where I look down, I'm like, oh fuck, where's my gas cap? You know? Yeah, it's a beautiful day out, man. It's like, oh shit, I have my sleeve is inside my glove. I want to say, what time is it? It's almost 11. So it's probably like low 60s, maybe mid 60s right now. Just great weather to ride around, man. But back to the point of the video, though. I finally do feel very confident on this bike compared to how I did on the Honda. You know, it was a pretty big change, but overall I've finally gotten used to all those changes. I love when I can roll up to a stop, and right before I can put my feet down, the light turns green and I can just keep it rolling through. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, get ready for the next video. I'm gonna have more coming soon, so thank you to anybody who tuned in. I appreciate you guys.